Welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm Great Scott.
Hey, Scott!
And if you're new to our channel, you'll know that the only thing we do here is free champions. We use rare champions, campaign farmable champions, daily login champions. We are not doing anything with legendary shard pulls and void legendaries and void epics. If you can't get them from the Tag Team Bazaar, if you can't get them from the clan shop, if you can't get them from daily logins or campaign rewards, if they're not permanent fusions, in other words, if they're not available to everyone at any time, we don't use them. So what we do here is teach you how to beat all the content with free champions that are available to everyone. Today, our video is going to talk about Nightmare Campaign. Now, Nightmare Campaign is a very challenging thing, only because of the final boss. Most of the time you can work your way through and 3-star everything if you have the right combination of champions. And I'm going to give you some recommendations right now. Let's just jump right into it. When I take a look at Nightmare Campaign, I want Syl of the Drakes. Syl of the Drakes is the best. She has stuns on the waves. She has the ability to revive someone who's fallen, because remember, both people have to be alive at the end if you're going to 3-star it, and you have to 3-star it to complete it. She heals every turn. She also throws an increased speed on an ally. Well, that ally is going to be the only other person you're fighting with, so that's pretty handy. She also has a chance of decreasing speed and decreasing turn meter on her A1. So all in all, she's an amazing champion. If you're just going to pair her up with somebody else, whoever is running the run with you, she's probably one of the best you can pair, especially if you're trying to 3-star. I also use Yakarl, because on his A3, he's got the wave crowd control by freezing everyone. He has complete turn meter depletion with a freeze and a decreased speed on his A2, and he also has a freeze on his A1. So that is an amazing crowd control. He does a wonderful job. If he happens to kill somebody, he's also immune to being killed. But that's okay. He and Syl work so well together. This tag team is unbelievable for almost all content. Now, I also use Vizix, because on her A1, she has the chance to decrease the target's turn meter. It's a 100% chance when booked out to decrease it by 15% times 2, which is a 30% decrease. That also fills her turn meter by the same 30%. So that makes her go faster. So she actually is really good at keeping the turn meter down on bosses, just like Syl. But if you look at Syl only has a 20% chance, booked up to 40, of placing decreased speed, and a 30% chance of taking the turn meter, booked up to 50. So I'd rather have a 100% chance times 2 hits, rather than a 50% chance times 1 hit. So Vizix for turn meter reduction is superior to Syl in that case. She also brings decreased speed on all enemies, ally protect for that other teammate so that they won't get killed. Also can control the entire wave with a provoke. She also shields herself. So she's also a very, very powerful champion. Great to pair up with Syl, great to pair up with Yakarl. All three of those champions are good. I've also used Drexthar when the affinity works in my favor. He's got a built-in hit point burn and his own healing, so he's got a built-in leech there. He's got to provoke all enemies if they're under a burn, and every time they attack him, they have a chance to apply burn to themselves. So he's doing a great job as far as crowd control and massive burn damage. So those guys are excellent when it comes to clearing content, and you get them fairly quickly. You can buy Yakarl. Syl is after 6 months. You can buy Drexthar and Yakarl. You should be buying both of those as soon as you have the ability to do it. Those are probably one of the best pair of champions you can purchase. Vizix takes a long time to get Vizix, so you might want to pass on her if you're not even into it 6 months. But as soon as you get into it 6 months, you're capable of taking on this Nightmare Campaign. So once Syl is 60, fully booked out, she's ready to go. You can pair her with Yakarl, you can pair her with Drexthar. I choose to pair her with Yakarl because Syl and Yakarl are just awesome in every bit of the content. Now, the very last boss takes a lot of RNG. You just have to get lucky. So you're going to run this a bunch of times. Now, I found between Syl and Yakarl, if I pair them up, I usually can win 1 out of 5 times. you're going to win if you just do it 10 times. One of those times you're going to get lucky with the RNG and you wind up winning. And I have a video for that I'll show. You can use Syl and Vizix because Vizix has that turn meter reduction on her A1. She's going to do a great job of keeping that turn meter down. You can use Vizix and Yakarl. Yakarl has great turn meter reduction and he can freeze the ads, as well as Vizix is capable of provoking those ads and protecting Yakarl. Now, when that boss hits, though, he's going to hit like a truck, and he's going to kill Yakarl, and there's no reviving him. So you can use Syl and Vizix, you can use Syl and Yakarl, you can use Vizix and Yakarl, and all of those combinations work great. Some alternatives. Now, remember, we've got to keep that boss from taking a turn, otherwise he's going to kill you. So what we need to do is think about turn meter control, and preferably on an A1. So you could also potentially use, and I have used, Armiger. Armiger has this decrease the turn meter by 30% if it's critical. Well, Armiger is a strong affinity to the boss. So he's going to be hitting criticals, assuming you have him in critical gear. He's going to be hitting criticals every time. I put him in a relentless set so he can continue hitting criticals to reduce that turn meter by 30% every single time. So what I did with him is I put him with a Yakarl. I also put him with a Syl. And so both of those combinations are okay. It's more like a 1 out of 10 to 1 out of 20 win rate, which is not great, but you need a lot of luck to win this anyway. So if you don't have Yakarl, you can use Armiger and Syl. If you don't have Vizix, you can use Yakarl and Syl, you can use Syl and Armiger, you can, like any combination thereof, as long as you're doing a good job of keeping that turn meter down for the boss, you will eventually get lucky and win with 3 stars. So let's take a look at the video that I prepared just to save time, because I can speed up a video, but if I'm playing real time, I can't speed it up. So here we are, we're going to push play on this bad boy, and we've got Yakarl and Syl starting the waves. All they really need to do is control the waves so they don't get hit too much. Even if they do, it's no big deal because Syl is going to heal every turn on her passive. So Yakarl's great for freezing everybody, Syl's great for stunning everybody, and if they don't get stunned, Syl will hit them and reduce their turn meter anyway. So we speed this up here. Hopefully we can get through the waves. The first wave took about like a minute or so. Yeah, maybe a minute 10 for the first wave. Now the second wave is going to take about the same amount of time, and the strategy is the same. Just basically control the waves until you can get to the boss. You just need to kill them and get to the boss. And hopefully you can A1 cycle at the very end. And once we get here to the end, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause it here. So I'm going to pause it and take a look and go over each one of the boss's skills independently. They're immune to stun, freeze, sleep provoke, block active skills, block passive skills, fear, true fear, petrification, hit point exchange, hit point balancing, and cooldown increasing effects. Well, that pretty much makes him immune to most of what you're going to do. The second skill attacks one enemy 2 times, will ignore shield and block damage buffs as well as defense. So you have no defense, you have no shield, and you can't block damage. Enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived, which means that boss is going to hit Yakarl, and you're going to see this, and Yakarl is going to die. And there's no way Syl can revive him. If he hits Syl, well, there's no way Syl can be revived either. So the problem we have is we have to prevent this skill from taking place. The only way to do that is with turn meter reduction. So the next one is Fiery Rage. It's got a 10% to unlock a secret skill Peril, which we just talked about for 1 turn. It also has a 20% chance to fill this champion's turn meter by 25% chance when attacked. Now that means any skill at all. Now it's going to fill the turn meter by 25%. So even if your attack causes this to trigger, he's only going to go up by 25%. If you have an Armiger that reduces his turn meter by 30%, you're still going to be ahead of the game. If you have a 50% turn meter reduction, you're still going to be ahead of the game. The only problem you're going to have is when you hit this guy and there's no turn meter reduction, and it winds up increasing his turn meter. So this is kind of why we don't want multiple hit champions on the A1, because although Cold Heart will 100% reduction of the turn meter, you still have to use your A1 sometimes until the cooldown is over and it comes back around. The A1 hits 4 times. That's 4 chances to fill his turn meter by 25%. That is a terrible idea. So if you don't have a turn meter reduction on your A1, don't bring that champion in. It's just not a good idea. The exception is Yukari, because his A2 comes around so fast that he seems to work. Oh, we have another one. He's going to attack all enemies 2 times, place block buffs for 2 turns on targets under heal reduction. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing block buffs for 2 turns against targets that are not under heal reduction. I believe his ads put the heal reduction on. So, that could be problematic for you. It's not one of the ones that we really care about, though. The peril is the one that we really care about. So he's going to add a 60% chance of placing 100% heal reduction for 2 turns. Well, I guess that just plays into his previous skill. This guy's a beast. He's a monster. He brings lots of things to the table that will cause problems for you. And I'll show you a way, like one time, where it goes wrong. So at first, I just want to stun and or freeze the ads. I also took a turn there to reduce the boss's turn meter. Hopefully we can keep the ads either stunned or we can keep the ads frozen, because I don't want the ads to attack me. But whenever the boss gets up high in his turn meter, I got to take that turn meter down. So Yukari's responsible for reducing it. But you saw just there, Yukari failed to reduce the turn meter. I'm going to back that up again so we can take a look here. So his turn meter is going to go up. We're going to get him to like 3/4 turn meter or even higher, and then Yukari's going to take a turn here, right here. Nope, not here. We got one more attack, and then Yukari gets to go next. So now you see how high the boss's turn meter is. It's pretty high. Yukari's going to use his A2, and this should cut his turn meter in half, right? So Yukari goes, and it was resisted. So the boss's turn meter is still super high. That boss is about to go, and I'm about to lose. Luckily, Sil comes in with her A1, and it triggers this time, and we're lucky, and Sil reduces his turn meter. So that was pretty fortunate for us. Now, I also have the mastery, and I'll pause it here, that the A1 has a chance of reducing the target's turn meter on the first hit. So if I hold on to my A1 for that boss when I really need it, it's possible that I can reduce his turn meter with an A1 from Yukari, even though it's not supposed to do it. But it only happens once, and it only happens on the A1. So we're going to continue with this. I'm just going to let this run here, and you can see what happens when I hit the boss. His turn meter goes up, then he gets his peril, and his peril wipes out Yukari. Right now, we don't have any problems keeping control of the ads. They're frozen. If I have to, I can use Sil and stun them. Mostly Sil is just going to be decreasing their turn meters, and when the time comes, when the boss's turn meter gets too high, I'm going to use Yukari to try and knock down that turn meter, like right now. Knocked his turn meter down a huge ton. He took some damage. We're in no danger right now. We just got to keep these ads frozen or stunned, keep them under control, and when Yukari's A2 comes back around again, we hit the boss with that to reduce it by 50%, because even if he gets 25% back, I'm still reducing his turn meter by a significant amount. So we're going to go and go and go, control the ads, hit the boss when his A2 comes around, keep the boss from taking a turn. If we have to use Sil, we can use Sil, and she'll wind up helping us out on that boss. But Sil has a 2-hitter, I think, on that A1. Oh, I'm sorry. Sil has a single hitter on that A1 with a relatively low chance, 50% chance of knocking down the turn meter. So that's going to be our problem, is if she doesn't trigger the turn meter reduction and he triggers peril, increasing his turn meter by 25%, we could face a very difficult challenge, because he's going to peril and he could potentially kill either one of us, because he ignores defense and everything. So let's take his turn meter down. It worked. Excellent. We got one ad that's in the bag. Now we're working on the second ad, and as long as neither the ad nor the boss gets a turn, we're in good shape. So we're just hoping that our turn meter reduction gets around in time. for us to keep the boss under control. Oop. So what happened there was Syl took a turn on the boss, and the boss actually triggered his passive, which increased his own turn meter. So Syl's didn't trigger, but the boss's did trigger, and that's a very dangerous thing. So we don't ever want that to happen if we can help it. So I have the A2 ready, which worked on the boss, keeping the boss under control. And right now we're still just trying to keep that ad under control. So I'm hoping that Syl keeps attacking that ad. Oh, she hit the boss again. So we might have a problem if she keeps attacking that boss. Hopefully we don't get resisted on our A2 from Yakarl. So we're working pretty well, and you can see it's just about getting lucky, folks. If you can get lucky and keep the turn meter down without missing your turn meter reduction and without triggering his passive that increases his own turn meter, you'll do very well against this boss. So Syl is going to go. She chose the ad, which is good. We're going to use an A2 on the boss, which is great. We decreased his turn meter all the way. Time to go to work on that ad, because we're about to kill both ads here, which is wonderful. So Syl triggered a decreased turn meter, and she got herself an extra turn. She hit the boss, which was great. Everything's going very well right now. We're keeping the boss at bay. We're killing the ad. Ad's down. It's time to hit the boss. Now, Syl's didn't trigger, so let's hope that A2 does for Carl, and it does. So we wiped out his turn meter, and we're still trying to keep his turn meter down. That is the secret here. If you're going to win, you just need to keep his turn meter down. It's dangerous because these A1s that we're using to attack have the potential of increasing his turn meter. Now let's see what happens. Syl's going to go. She missed the turn meter, and he increased his turn meter. Yakarl comes in with his A2, decreases the turn meter. He used his A1, but increased the boss's turn meter that way. Now it's Syl's turn. She increased his turn meter. Yakarl increases the boss's turn meter. He comes back with his special attack, and we're dead. So we were so close. We came very close to beating this boss. We just had some bad luck there in the end with back-to-back turn meter increases on that boss. Now, it's only like a 20% chance. So to have them back-to-back is very unlucky. Now let's see what happens when we go ahead. I'm just going to let her finish up here. We're going to see in the second run what happens when it works correctly. So it didn't work right in the first run. It's time for us to go into a second run and see how we do. I'm going to speed everything up. These videos go very fast when you speed them up, so we don't have to worry about like waiting 10 minutes to get through the whole thing. And there he goes. Super speed, right? Wish the game played this fast. So these waves don't take really that long, about a minute each wave. I know it's kind of boring, but I turned 2 minutes into, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 seconds maybe. All right, here we are at the boss. So now we're gonna take a look at this boss, and we're gonna try and freeze the ads, stun the ads, keep the ads turn meter down, as well as the boss's turn meter. Every time Syl gets another turn, she has a chance of keeping the turn meter of the ads down, which is good. But remember, the boss has to take a turn, and he also has to be hit to unlock his peril, which is his secret skill. That's the skill that kills you. So technically, if you never hit the boss, he won't ever unlock it. But you're going to have to eventually hit the boss. And it helps to keep the boss's turn meter down forever, because that's the only way you can win. I kind of go through this slowly so you can see which skills we're using and which target we're choosing. Essentially, Yakarl is fast enough where he can get a second turn, like maybe a 3-2 kind of thing, where he gets 3 turns and the boss only gets 2 turns. He just has to keep that turn meter down so the boss doesn't have a chance to go. When he does his A2, he actually steals the turn meter, so that gets him back around to his next turn pretty quick. especially if the boss had full turn meter or close to full, because that allows him to get a whole nother, round. So our Yakarl died, but that's okay. It wasn't the boss who killed him. In this particular case, he was killed by the ads. So the ad killed him. We don't care because he can be revived. It's only the boss that kills him, then he can't be revived. I didn't know if it was the boss's regular attack or if it was an ad's attack that wound up killing him. One of the great reasons we have Syl on board is if somebody does fall accidentally, you could just pick them back up and still maybe even win the run. So in this particular video, I think the second run here, we win. Usually we win like 1 out of 5 times, but I didn't want you to sit through 5 attacks, 5 times going against the boss, because it doesn't help you watch me lose 4 times and then win 1 time. I wanted to show you a loss so that you know, how do I lose? What does the boss do that's so dangerous, and why do I need turn meter reduction? Why do I need luck? Because in addition to turn meter reduction, you also have to get lucky that you don't trigger his turn meter increase without triggering your turn meter decrease. So right now we're still working on the ads. If we could take these ads out, we'll be in great shape. We've controlled the turn meter of the boss pretty well. We don't have to worry about him coming up with any perils, so he's not going to smoke us in one hit. I wasn't sure at this point if I wanted that ad to take a turn and possibly get a smite triggered. The smite didn't trigger, so it wasn't really useful. Well, the boss knocked me down again, but he didn't use his peril on me. So the good news is, without his peril, the boss isn't going to block my revive. So it's okay if you die. If you have Syl in here, it's okay to die. That's not the end of the world. Just because I didn't get my freezes around, just because I didn't get my turn meter reduction around in time, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Now I'm going to knock down a full turn meter from the boss here. That was my A1 that also decreased turn meter, but that only happens once. That's only on the first default attack. And that's part of my masteries. It's good to have that if you're trying to 3-star Nightmare. So if you don't have that on your champions when you're trying to do this, it's good to just add that, because that first little A1 always triggers the decrease turn meter. It only happens on the first one, but it's worth it. It gets you back up and running. And if you die, no big deal. She could just pick you back up. The only time you don't want to die is you don't want to die when the boss is using his peril. So we're actually doing pretty well here. Syl has taken some turns. Occasionally, that time she triggered his turn meter increase, but Yakarl had his A2 ready. Let's see what Syl does here. She does work her turn meter decrease without triggering the peril. Yakarl worked with his A2. Syl got a decreased turn meter with her A1. Yakarl's attacking again. He triggered a turn meter increase. Didn't do it a second time. That was good. That was lucky. Syl triggered it, but Yakarl pulled out the victory by reducing the turn meter right there at the very end. He wound up killing the boss before the boss could get a turn. So you will win this if you do it enough times. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to shut off this video. We're going to go back to our home base here, and let's just for the sake of fun, let's just go in with Nightmare here. We're gonna go in with maybe a couple of different choices. So let's go see if we can get a little bit of farming going on there. Let's see if we can bring in a Vizix and a Syl. I think I'd rather have a Vizix and a Yakarl, but we're going to try it with these two. We're just going to let it auto through the battle here. I don't know if I should let it auto. Maybe it'll go faster if I don't auto it. I'm not sure what they do when they auto, how smart they are. Now neither one of these is going to be a big hitter, They just don't seem to have the damage that an attack champion like Yakarl brings to it. I don't know anyone else who has significant damage either and still has turn meter reduction coming around so quickly. I suppose Armiger with his A2 could bring some pretty big smacks because it does work on the maximum hit points of your enemies. He also would work well if he has War Master, or if he can proc. Oh, I don't know. Sometimes Ignore Defense works well with him if he uses that max hit point A2. So there are times where it would work really well with an Armiger. But Syl and Vizix, they're doing great here. They're never in any danger. These two are so beefy. These champions are so beefy. So Syl is going to be speeding up Vizix whenever she gets a chance. They're going to protect each other. Vizix can shield herself. Syl's going to heal. There's no way that these two defensive champions are going to ever be in trouble on the waves. It just takes a while to get through them. Because right now we're almost at 2 minutes. And I think just a little over 2 minutes we were actually getting to the boss when we had Yakarl. So we're going to probably look at 3 minutes before we get to the boss. So it's a little slower of a run. But we're still controlling the waves fairly well. And as long as we're not in danger of dying, and even if we do, even if Vizix dies, Syl will just pick her right back up with an ally protect on it, so she's not in danger of dying again. But when we do get close to completing this particular wave, I'm going to start A1 cycling, because the A1 cycle is important so you have all of your skills available when you're facing the final boss. Because I'm playing real time, there's no way to speed this up. Maybe I'll edit the video and try to put in a faster speed here. Alright, so I'm just going to A1 cycle through, so all my skills are ready. They both have turn meter reduction, so that Lord Shazar is not going to get another turn. Alright, so now we're at the boss. So now we need to keep the boss's turn meter down. So I'm going to strike the boss with Vizix and see what happens to his turn meter. We got good turn meter reduction there. I'm going to try and stun the adds. It only stunned one add. Now the other add is going to try and attack me, but I still need to keep the turn meter down for the main boss. However, I'm okay with him taking a turn because he can't use his peril immediately. So there's a turn, and that's okay. So now he's going to have his peril available to him. So I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. I'm going to do my best to keep these adds at bay. I really wish the stun would have worked, but we can always use a provoke. Let's try the stun. The stun worked, so now we can go to town on the adds until we can start working on the boss. Now, I'm going to keep working on the add to make sure the adds don't get turns. And I'm going to use Vizix on the boss, because Vizix has a 100% chance of turn meter reduction. So even if he has his passive, which his passive triggered on both attacks there, I'm going to try it again, see if I can get that turn meter down with Vizix. It is getting real sketchy now, because the adds are not stunned and the boss is almost at full turn. So hopefully Syl triggers her turn meter reduction without triggering his turn meter add. And she does, but now I gotta go with Vizix again, and I'm gonna get smoked by these adds here if I don't pay attention to the adds. But I gotta get his turn meter down, because if he gets that peril on me, it's all over. That didn't even decrease his turn meter. So let's get these adds done. Nice stun there. Try and work on that turn meter for the boss. Try to work on the adds. Boss. Oop, that didn't work. Try to work the adds. Try to work the adds more. See if I can stun the adds. Ooh, the boss got a turn meter boost. See if I can take the boss's turn meter down. There it is. There was his special ability, and I can't revive Vizix because he used a special ability. Now, let's go ahead and end this, and we're going to see what happens when I bring in Yakarl instead. So here's Yakarl, and we're going to try and work our way through this as quickly as possible. Maybe in the editing, what I should do is I should actually speed this up. So I think I'm going to speed it up in the editing. Okay, here we are at the boss. Let's do a freeze on the ads. We'll use Vizix in the middle to keep the boss's turn meter down. We'll use Yakarl's A2 to reduce it completely. We'll keep hitting the ads to try and keep their health down. Maybe I should continue working on that boss, but I think it would be better to keep the ad frozen. We'll use Yakarl on the other ad for right now. Keep the boss down. Ooh, the boss boosted his own turn meter there for a second. I've got my A2 ready for Yakarl, so we're going to take the boss down. As long as they stay frozen, they can't hurt us. Let's try and take the boss down again. The boss increased his own turn meter there. I think his A2 is available. Use it on the boss. Took the boss halfway down. Now I believe the boss has his peril at this moment, so I'm going to try and keep his turn meter as low as I can until, of course, I can get Yakarl's back around. There it is. That worked. So Yakarl's got to keep these ads busy. Vizix can help with the ads. We've almost got the first ad done. There he goes. Okay, so now we have to concentrate on the boss and the other ad. If I can keep the other ad's turn meter down, they'll stay frozen. Yakarl can keep them doing that. Ooh, she didn't freeze that time. There we go. Now we froze the ad. Let's keep the turn meter down for the ad. Yakarl's got his A2 ready. As long as he doesn't resist that, it should work every time, because Yakarl is excellent. I'm thinking about leaving the ad alive and using Vizix to attack the boss, because I can tear away at the boss's turn meter every turn with Vizix. And if I get in trouble, I'm going to save the A2 from Yakarl. Like that time, it looks like I might be in a little bit of trouble. So I might use Yakarl this time to steal the turn meter. And then he's going to go over and just keep wailing on the ad. Meanwhile, Vizix is going to work the boss. Yakarl's going to work the ad. I think I'll take the boss. Vizix is beyond the boss. Ooh, he regained his turn meter on that one. Alright, so now we're only working the boss. If we get lucky, we can keep his turn meter down. If we get unlucky, he'll increase his turn meter with these attacks, and he'll hit us with that peril, and it's all over for us. So, hopefully Vizix gets lucky with all her hits, and hopefully we can keep his turn meter down with the A2 from Yakarl. Vizix get lucky. Yes. Yakarl. Big hits. Vizix get lucky. Yes. Yakarl's gonna take another hit here before we use his A2. It did not work in our favor. Luckily Yakarl's A2 is around. And as long as he doesn't resist it, Vizix and Yakarl can do this on their own. We have to get lucky. That was not lucky. Vizix got lucky. Yakarl's A2. Good, he didn't resist. That wasn't lucky. Vizix gets lucky. Yakarl, lucky. And here we go. First try, Vizix and Yakarl, we were able to do it. So now, the next one we want to try and do is going to be Armiger. So let's head back, edit our team here, and let's put our Armiger on the team. And I think I want Yakarl and Armiger here. So let's do that instead. Now we've got an offense, like an attack champion and a defense champion, so not sure how well this is going to work, but luckily for us, Armiger does a great job of keeping their turn meter down, probably just as good, just as good as Vizix does, and he can keep anybody who is not frozen from taking a turn. So between these two, they should have good crowd control. And we should have good killing power too, because Armiger's A2 works wonders. Okay, here we are arriving at the boss. I intend to use Armiger's A1 on the boss every time, unless of course I'm worried that I can't keep a freeze on the ads. The ads are frozen, Armiger's going for the boss. Big hit. Yakarl's going for the boss. Big hit. Also slowed the boss down. Very helpful. Start working on the ads at the moment. Chose the wrong ad on that one. Let's see if I can take this one down. It worked. Take this one down. It worked. Take this one down again. Love Relentless on Armiger. Take the boss's turn meter. It worked. Freeze this ad. It worked. Keep it up. Boss's turn meter. Didn't work. That one worked. Yakarl, freeze. That worked. Keep working on the ad. Armiger on the boss. Ooh. They counteracted each other. Ooh, and he resisted. This is not looking good. Come on, Armiger. Not enough. So what happened there was the boss resisted Armiger's, or he counteracted it. So he got a turn meter increase, even though Armiger got a 30% decrease, and the boss only gave himself 20 or 25%. It was enough to negate the hit from Armiger. The second thing that happened is he resisted the A2 from Yakarl, and what I want to do with that is I think I want to replay that one, because this is something that could work. So I'm going to speed it up, and I'll see you at the boss. Okay, here we are at the boss. Let's hope we get lucky this time, because I know Armiger can do it. I think I've done it with Armiger before. It's just a matter of getting lucky. So what happened on that one, Armiger missed his critical. So he wasn't able to crit. They match affinity, so there's really no reason he shouldn't have crit. So he wasn't able to take the turn meter down on the boss. The boss resisted that turn meter reduction, also boosted himself, which is a double whammy. Very unlucky that particular turn. Let me see if my Armiger just doesn't have enough accuracy, or if there was just bad RNG. So let's quit that one. We'll head ourselves back to the Bastion. We'll take a look at my Armiger and see what his stats look like. I haven't rebuilt my Armiger in a long time. Oh yeah, well, I mean, he's only got 281. It should have been okay. So he's got pretty much 100% crit. 99's close enough. There's always that 1% though that could drive you crazy. Doesn't have tremendous crit damage. He should. I mean, I should have built him with huge crit damage and huge defense. So when he does smack, he smacks hard. But I think most of his damage actually comes from either a War Master proc, or in the case of his A2, a percentage of the hit points for the boss that he's fighting. I really probably want his accuracy to 350 so he continuously lands it. Let me see what the accuracy is on my Yakarl, because he seems to land stuff pretty well. My Yakarl's accuracy is 345. So I assume if I rebuilt my Armiger with a 300, the boss wouldn't resist. If I gave him, of course, 100% crit, the boss couldn't resist. And so Armiger is a viable candidate here, just like Vizix is when it comes to reducing that boss's turn meter. So I like Armiger. He makes it through the waves with Yakarl. He probably would do okay with Syl, but I really prefer Yakarl for turn meter reduction. So if you're going to do Vizix and Yakarl, Syl and Yakarl, or even Armiger and Yakarl, you can 3-star your Nightmare campaign. Well, I think that's everything. I'm going to go and wrap it up here, so make sure you like, subscribe, and if you have ideas for new videos, just put it down in the comments. I do read those. And until next time, goodbye.